All right. You said 2 times or 3 times?
Did I only say it 2 times?
That's okay.
We could do it one more.
That's fine.
Sorry.
All right. Happy Saturday. And thank you for being here. Okay, when I said recite the opening prayers, you need to generate bodhicitta, correct your motivation. That's what that means, right? Recite opening prayers. Always remember that because this prayer, for a measurable prayer, is very short but very profound. So make sure, remember bodhicitta and listen this teaching for benefit all sentient beings. Now the pardon from the four attachments. This teaching is about what is this teaching? What is this teaching? This teaching is about what is the purpose of life. This teaching give us, educate probably, us how to be a good person, to understand what is purpose of life. I will tell you more of that, but make sure that nothing else. So this pardon from the four attachments, it's not only for how to achieve liberation or enlightenment, but it's also temporarily how to be a good person. I think that's the meaning of, that's the essence of this teaching. You see, many people work extremely hard, very busy, great pressure, anxiety, and worry, and they don't have much free time, right? Most people spend almost their whole life for hard work with great pressure, and every day they experience their life great anxiety, right? That's all the most people are doing. You can imagine a person who's almost like spend their whole life work hard and no free time. So now, what is the purpose? What is the goal that they go through this difficult and busy life? The goal is for most people, want become wealthy, so they want to make a lot of money. And then, now, what is money for? Money is for life, right? For survive. So in order to make money, you have to work very hard so that you have money, and money helps survive your life. Well, makes sense, right? Makes sense. It's very important. That's why people go through very difficult situation and hard work because of for life. Now, the next question is, what are we survive for? Money is for survive our life, but what are we survive for? What is the purpose of survive sort of lead your life? Am I say this correctly? I don't know. I hope you understand. Many people think, work is very important, make money is important because of life. But when we say, what is purpose of life? Then many people have no good answer for this question. Or many people actually don't know this. What is purpose of life? So if you don't understand the essence of your life or the purpose of your life, that is what we call ignorant. And this ignorance brings a lot of suffering and confusion. A result of this ignorance, many people engage a lot of negative activities. As you know, many people are destroying this world. People are destroying so many beings' life every single day. First of all, when I teach, I want to talk all these negative things. Forgive me, okay? When I investigate and learn about this world, there are so many negative people in this world. And unfortunately, they have a lot of power. I'm sure you are aware of this sort of destruction humans are causing to our environment, right? And especially to all the living beings that live in our environment. So if you, as a dharma practitioner, as a good people, if you investigate about all these things, it makes think that what is the purpose of life? We are destroying this world. For example, we have dumped pollutions into the water, build all these, factory farms, especially killed countless living beings for every single day as if their lives didn't matter, and so much more. You know all these things, do you? Maybe you hear about these things, but not much really know about these things. So think carefully as a dharma practitioner, as a good people, what life is like for these living beings. If we put ourselves in their place and imagine what it would be like to experience these things, it's really heartbreaking to see and feel their pain and how much suffering they go through for every single day. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Is all of this really necessary? No, not at all. Not at all. If you really investigate, you will see that most of this sort of distraction and harm is because of the selfishness and ignorance. These selfish people don't respect the world that we are living. These ignorant people have no compassion, so they don't care living beings. So they kill them so badly, right? Every single day, like millions. I would say like countless. Do you remember Padmasambhava said that when the dark age of degeneration time comes, the fishermen create red ocean. Do you know what does that mean? Long time ago, when I think about this, what does that mean? Fishermen create red ocean. That doesn't make any sense. But it means when they killed all these animals that are living in the ocean becomes red because of the blood come from the animals. The ocean become red. That's why Padmasambhava said that 1,000 years ago, right? Do you believe that? It's hard to believe it, but I saw it. Maybe you too. I don't know. Ocean is huge, but the way they killed this fishermen, killed the animals living in ocean become red because there are too many. The blood come from them. That's what Padmasambhava means. This. So that sign, that's that this is degeneration time. And if you don't know that, you can see it if you want to watch it. This kind of things. Padmasambhava said the ocean become red. That's exactly what is happening every single day. But what can we do? Almost nothing, right? We don't have power. We don't have capacity. So I'm talking here about the purpose of life. What are we survived for? As a Dharma practitioner, at least we should think about these things, right? How can we help them? Mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever. They are a lot of powerful people in this world. And we have all these great people, but actually they're not helping so much these animals' lives, if I'm not wrong. I know only one person who really cares animals' life, that is Kanchen Chotamlodu. He goes all over Tibet and China, and wherever he go, he released so many animals' life, and he protected them from killing all the time. They called him like Chetar Kambo. Chetar, Che means life, Tar means release. They call Chetar Kambo. He protects them all the time. He does not only that, he does so many good things, but he is real bodhisattva. Other than that, there are not many people doing it, as far I know. So again, we make money for survive our lives. But sometimes I think we have to also be careful with our money, meaning how we spend our money. Where is the money going to, Because if we cooperate or participate our money with these negative companies, we will get very negative karma, right? For example, if we buy a piece of meat, we are part of these companies, for sure, no question, because we support these companies. Am I right? So I think it's important that we should learn about how we participate in this sort of distraction and suffering. Think about the choice we make. Do we really know where the products we buy come from? Do we really know what these companies participate in? Most of the time, myself, I'm not aware of these things. Maybe you know it. If you do know, then do you care about the suffering that may have happened to give you the things that you want? Ask yourself, is it worth it? So make money is so important for life, but more importantly, how we spend our money. I think we need to concern more about these things, because it's directly either help them or harm them. So you work very hard in order to make money. You went through all this really a difficult situation because of money. Nothing else, just money. Money, money, money. So what is money for? Money for life makes sense. But then when we spend the money, it goes into, if it goes into these negative places, then you also become part of them, which is you also create all this suffering and destroy the world. And you are also one of them, right? So that's why I think it's important. Buddha said, you remember, Buddha said that just as one drop of water that goes into the great ocean will never disappear until the ocean itself runs dry. Likewise, if your money, for example, goes into these negative places, will never disappear until the places are no longer exist, whatever. Similarly, if your money goes into good places, your merit totally dedicated to liberation will never disappear until enlightenment is reached, right? So I think the way we spend our money is so important. What I'm saying is that try not to support these negative groups, negative places who are really harmful every day, destroy the world and killed all the animals' lives. Why do we support them? I don't think many of us, we are very good people. I believe it, and we really don't want directly harm others or directly destroy the world, but indirectly, I think we do. So, as I said, the money is for survive our lives, but what is the purpose of survive life? That's what I think we need to understand. We need to think about. So important. It's so important to understand the purpose of survive this life. If you say that's easy, purpose of life is just for this worldly existence. I'm a 99%, people think that, right? Well, that's your choice. But I think that is very narrow. That is very selfish, I think. We can do much more that because human beings have really great capacity and intelligent, right? So it's important to understand the purpose of this life. That's so important, I think, today. I just want to tell you that. Do you really investigate and ask yourself, what is my life? What is the purpose of my what should I do for others? This is definitely the dark age of degeneration time. Definitely. We don't have much time. And usually, of course, it's true that we live in samsara, the silly existence, and some amount of suffering will permit everything. But if we want to be compassionate people and dharma practitioners, we should investigate these things and try to live our lives as gently as possible. And as Buddha said that, if we have the capacity to help others, we should. If not, then at least try not harm others' life directly or indirectly. That's, I think, our responsibility as dharma practitioners. So think about, maybe we should meditate after the teaching, like think about what is the purpose of life. And maybe you can, for example, you can make a commitment today to learn about these things. How people destroy the world, how many people destroy all living beings' life, you should make a commitment to learn about these things and change your habits and try to be a kinder and more sort of compassionate member of sort of our world, and appreciate and respect to all living beings' life. And don't be selfish. Don't think like, oh, as long as I'm happy, as long as I'm successful, as long as I have a good life, then I don't care others. That is not good people. That is not Dharma practitioner. It's important to you. You have a happy life. You have successful life. You have a good life, great life. Of course, that's number one. But most people, I don't care others. That's not true. So that's not good. So that's not what Dharma practitioners' motivation, right? Selfish people do think that this kind of things. As long as I'm good, I don't care others. So remember, I can say this: if you are a selfish person, definitely you are not a true Dharma practitioner. Rather than if you are attached to this life, you are not true Dharma practitioner. How about that? How about that? I will change that. I mean, just this moment. Think about that one. As long, if you are a selfish person, you definitely not a authentic true Dharma practitioner. 100%. 100%. As long as you change your mind, not be a selfish person. We are attached to this life. We are attached to this world, attached to everything. That not necessarily you are not an authentic Dharma practitioner, but definitely if you are a selfish person, you are not Dharma. Even like you are not a good people. Do you understand? It's as simple as that. If you are a selfish person, you are not good people. You are not good person. Because then you're going to destroy everything like this, what I'm talking here. If you think selfish is good, selfish people are great, then you are never ever going to see or never ever attain enlightenment. That's for sure. And then you have only samsara. You never ever even like smallest experience liberation. You have samsara. You not just the samsara, you have a very bad samsara if you are a selfish person. So it's important that we really need to think about finding a way that we will be able to not only achieve our own happiness, but also the happiness of others. So in order to do that, first, as I said, first, we really need to develop our wisdom that learns about this world, wisdom that can understand about all living beings' life. That's first step in order to, achieve our own happiness and also achieve happiness for others, first we have to develop our wisdom. Okay? That's what I mean, like learn about this world, learn about all living beings' life. And then second step is, I think, we need to develop our compassion and love and kindness. Once you understand this world and living beings' life, it's easy to develop your compassion and love and kindness so that we appreciate this world because of the wisdom, right? So important. And then also we respect to all living beings' life because of our compassion. That's second. And then third, I think we need to develop our capacity so that we can help others. Okay? So first, develop your wisdom. Second, develop your compassion. Third, develop your capacity. You see, we can do all of this through the authentic Dharma practice, which is again, practice Dharma without selfish mind. Dharma itself is nothing other than our own minds. It depends entirely on our good or bad intentions. So therefore, don't think, oh, my actions come from my previous karma, therefore I can't do anything. That's totally wrong. That's not true. So we have the power to change our lifestyle, change our attitude, change our habits, change our motivation through practice Dharma. Therefore, practicing Dharma is important, right? Especially through the Mahayana practice, we will be able to achieve our goal. The goal is not only benefit ourselves, but also we will be able to great benefit others at the same time through the Mahayana practice. For this reason, the Buddha said that the Mahayana is a great path. So this path is we need to choose, right? Once we start to get some sort of good experience and good result of meditation practice, then we will generate a sense of joy and sense of enthusiasm, and all this good experience will come. Then we don't want to separate from meditation. At this point of time, our meditation develops very quickly at this point because we don't want to separate from meditation. We don't want to separate from the compassion, love and kindness, all of that. So through that, we can develop our capacity in meditation experience very quickly. So we have to keep practice, right? Now, I want to share you the root text. Today is, let's see. In order to, I think we are here. Okay, I think that's the, let's remember now today we finished the first line, right, from the Manjushri instruction. So now the second is the teaching is the second line from Manjushri. If you are attached to cyclic existence, samsara, you do not have renunciation, right? That's second line of pardon from the four attachments. And Dr. Johnson's commentary of this instruction is, I just send you the text. It says, in order to attain nirvana, abandon attachment to the three realms of samsara, and in order to abandon attachment to three realms, keep in mind the faults of samsaric existence. Nyenin dipa dripala, kamsam la shimba payang tsaros, kamsam la shimba pawala, kori shimba temple tsaros. In order to kamsam la shimba pawala, kori shimba, in order to abandon attachment to samsara, kori shimba temples. It's so important to understand the defects of samsara. So here we're talking about renunciation today. Now, we have two choices, right? Or two paths. One path is practice dharma for achieve enlightenment. And the other path is practice dharma is not purpose for achieve enlightenment, but for just wish to attain sort of temporary happiness, right? 90% of people doing this, they're taking this path, not for enlightenment, but for just a wish to attain temporary happiness. What we call it, worldly vehicle, okay? Jikten Lami Takpa, or worldly yana. Now, in terms of enlightenment, there are two different kinds of enlightenment, right? Mahayana and Hinayana enlightenment. If you think the worldly vehicle, the worldly path is great, and if you choose the worldly path, which is seeking for temporary happiness, then you don't have to worry about renunciation. You don't have to practice renunciation. You just need to practice, the worldly vehicle, which is practice abandoning the 10 negative virtues, actions, right? That's all. You don't have to worry about renunciation. However, if you choose and want to achieve enlightenment, either of the Mahayana or Hinayana, then renunciation is absolutely essential. And it is equally important for both of these enlightenment, Mahayana and Hinayana path. Without practice renunciation, it's impossible to achieve either of these paths of liberation. So therefore, if you choose the Mahayana path or Hinayana path, you need renunciation. Otherwise, you are never not be able to achieve the goal, right? So if you are most of, like Mahayana practitioners, right? So you need to think about renunciation first. That's the first step. In terms of achieve enlightenment, from one point of view, we can see that it's difficult, right? Achieve enlightenment is so difficult. There is not something that easy to achieve because we have all this powerful selfishness, ignorance, and confusion, all of that, right? That's why it's difficult to achieve enlightenment. However, looking at it another point of view, achieve enlightenment is not that difficult. Okay? When you recognize the nature of mind, then the process of liberating yourself from samsara begins right there. So even if you cannot sort of devote your entire life to practice, it's important to keep sort of enlightenment as your the purpose of life, as your principle, as your main goal, as a Mahayana practitioner, right? And to not become a selfish person, to not become attached to this life alone, right? And understand the purpose of your life. Through that kind of wisdom, when you recognize the cause of suffering is, these afflictions, these negative emotions, and you recognize that you want to be free from all of these negative emotions, and you really don't want sort of let dominate yourself by these afflictions or negative emotions anymore. That recognition is what we call renunciation mind. At this point, you really see that the defects of these afflictions, these emotions. So you want to be free from them. That is what we call renunciation mind. So that you are going to make a commitment, right? You really want to reduce these afflictions, attachment, ignorance, whatever. And at that point, you put your one foot on the path of renunciation. And this is when you begin to generate the mind of renunciation. Okay? So I mentioned this many times, but the definition of renunciation is looking for enlightenment, right? Turn your mind toward liberation, which is, again, finding the path. Renunciation is whatever makes your mind turn, towards the practice of dharma, and makes you not cause harm to others. That is the practice of renunciation. And renunciation has actually two directions of looking. One is the practice of renunciation. You look two directions. You look up or you look down, right? You look down, for example, you look down at the suffering of samsara, and you wish to be completely freed from suffering, and you have no interest in it. It's like, for example, when if you visited, very unpleasant place, then you will think, I will not wish to return there again, right? If you have that kind of attitude towards samsara, it's a sign of renunciation. Okay, you look down to understand the all living beings' life, suffering of samsara, and you have no interest in it. Return to samsara. You want to escape from samsara. That's one thing, and then you look up at the enlightenment, right? And understand the benefit of enlightenment, and you really wish to attain it. That's another like way to practice renunciation. So you see, it's actually thinking about, you know, defects of samsara and the benefit of liberation. Look down, you see defects of samsara. Look up, you understand the benefit of liberation. So two ways. So when we are talking about renunciation, we are actually talking about desire and attachment, right? Following attachment, following desire, and not finding satisfaction are the main causes of not having a renunciation mind. Because following desire actually in itself is suffering, right? When we think about samsara, when we think about what binds us to samsara, it is not having a renunciation mind. So therefore, Kamala Shilla said, you know, right? We should try not to be attached to so many things that are not necessary in our lives. If we are always pursuing a name for ourselves, looking for become a sort of, famous and high position, these are signs that we are still clinging to samsara existence, samsaric existence. Means no renunciation. But I want to make sure that you will not misunderstand about renunciation. Okay? Usually renunciation, when you think about renunciation, it's something that you have to give up. Not, so you should really know that practicing renunciation is not giving up your belongings, but having less desire and attachment inside of your mind. If you are full of desire inside of your mind, then it doesn't matter. I always say this, right? How much you give up the things that you have, it doesn't matter. So we have to focus inwardly how to develop renunciation mind rather than I should not attach to these things and that things, give up this way, So beautifully summarized what does renunciation mean. Lama Tsongkhapa says that in his what do you call it, Lamtso Namsim, the three principle of the path, that he said renunciation is having the intention all day and night to seek enlightenment. Okay, that's the definition of renunciation. Renunciation is Nimjong in Tibetan, Nimjong. Ni means niprat, ni means definite, definitely. Njong means going. Okay. So it means definitely going. Right? Now think about this word. In Tibetan, Nimjong means definitely going. Where are we definitely going? We're going to achieve enlightenment. And then from where are we going to attain enlightenment, right? From samsara. From samsara, we are going to escape samsara, going to achieve enlightenment, right? Who is going? Who is going? Our mind, not the body, the mind, right? There are lots of questions. How to go through this practice, right? The for example, four thoughts that change the mind. That's the vehicle, right? And all the others, this mind training practice. These are the great vehicles. These are the BMW, Jaguar, whatever these expensive cars. These are more expensive than that, right? So through this vehicle, practice four thoughts that change your mind, all mind turn. That's how we, how to get or reach enlightenment through this vehicle, right? Through this path. That's what renunciation means. You understand? And there are three ways you need to learn, right? You need to learn how to drive. Three ways you need to practice. Let's say the first time when you meditate, you have to investigate. You have to think a lot about the teachings, okay? Which is what we call develop wisdom or analytical meditation. Actually, you listen the teachings, then you think, you investigate each and every single words of the teachings. You investigate, you think, you develop a wisdom. So this is kind of like analytical meditation, such as all this mind training practice, right? Four thoughts that change your mind. Why is precious? Human life is precious. Why is it impermanent? You have to contemplate. You have to think. That's the first. The second time when you meditate without thinking, which is what we call the rest in meditation, such as practice shamatha. So your mind is all over. Your mind is not stable and peaceful, right? So therefore, this point, you don't have to think at all, just to relax. Rest. Let your mind rest. Don't too much think. That's second. And then, of course, the third time, you meditate, go beyond both of this, analytical and rest and meditation, which is what we call great perfection. It is the nature of mind. This meditation is not analytical meditation, not rest and meditation. It's beyond all of that. That's why we call great perfection. So you see, there are many ways, but this is like just generally speaking, this is how you practice. So through this kind of three practice, you can develop your capacity, and you definitely will reach enlightenment. Okay, so now you have the little bit, I'm sure you understand what does renunciation means, right? So don't misunderstand. Now the root text, Dr. Johnson is talking here, we're talking the renunciation. So renunciation, so through practice, the suffering of samsara, right? So let me Again, I hope you can read it. So this it's talking about the three sufferings. Okay, so I'm going to read it for you. First, this is the commentary, okay? Takpa Jansen commentary, how to practice renunciation. First, the suffering of suffering is the suffering of the three lower realms. Contemplate this deeply and you will break out in goose pimples. If it befalls you, there is no way you could endure it. Those who do not accomplish the virtues of abandoning it only give up, okay, are cultivators of the lower realms. Wherever they reside, they are pitiful. Tambo dungar ji dungar te, lansong sum ji dungari, te lakpar samna cheshambong. Cheshambong means and goose pimple. Tok the one tantap mes, only give a mabdipar, lansong sunum shishit, te kanan dukchan telele, pitiful. Now the suffering of change. Contemplate the suffering of change, you see the movement of beings from heavenly realms to the lower realms. Shakara, Lord of the gods, right? That's Sanskrit, can be reborn as an ordinary being. The sun and moon can turn dark. And the universal emperor can be reborn as a slave. Jirwi dungar samsana, tori ngandron ruwayo, Egyptian tamrat jiwayo, near the member ruwayo, jirjitand jiwayo. This is actually talking about impermanence, right? It's nothing forever. Belief in this depends upon the world of the Buddha, as ordinary people do not have the ability to realize it. So observe for yourself the changes of humans. The wealthy become poor, the powerful become weak. Out of many people, only one survives, as so on, beyond our mind's imagining. Okay. Te long la te ni yichi chang, paritopper manipi, rahna mayinjiratu means observe for yourself the changes of humans. What the changes of humans? The wealthy become poor, the powerful become weak. Out of many people, only one survives. All of that, right? So the meaning of this stanza is that if you have difficulty sort of gaining realization of the changing sort of nature of things, you should take some time to observe how the human condition is always changing. It's easy to see it, right? Day to day. It's not that difficult to understand, right? So all of us must sort of experience the suffering of change. Getting older, get sick, sometimes happy, sometimes suffering. There is nothing that is permanent. But we know this intellectually, but none of us have the genuine realization of impermanent practice. For sure, we don't have that. Otherwise, if we have that, we are not like this, you know. But intellectually, we understand impermanence. So therefore, nothing can stay the same, right? Nothing remains for very long. So therefore, this, we need to meditate on the changing nature of all things. I mean, this is not negative. It's actually beautiful. Everything is changing sort of naturally. It's beautiful. You know, if things are not changed at all, I think it will be very boring. You know, now it's kind of like summer is rising, so we can see these beautiful things growing. And then they're not stay very long, and they will change. So it's kind of like it's natural. But we don't sort of really think in detail, sort of, the essence of this kind of nature, practice. So this practice really will help us to develop a renunciation mind, right? Renunciation mind help us, life is very short. The purpose of life is not just to make for money, do something good, be a good person. Everything is impermanent. So this help practice impermanence has many good things and very beneficial. And as long as we practice impermanence, our attachment will definitely reduce. It gives us sort of deeper motivation and more sort of responsibility. So we should try to prevent the cause of suffering, right? Which is, we have to focus on the cause of suffering, not the result, right? The Buddha said that, right? In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha said that if we try to prevent the cause of suffering, then it's possible to be free from suffering. We usually don't think that way, right? We think about how to prevent the result of suffering. But Buddha said that's not how you do it. You have to prevent the cause of suffering. And, one important thing is we need to understand that Buddha never said that you have to abandon your suffering. But Buddha said that, remember, for Noble Truth, Buddha said that you have to examine and understand where suffering comes from. And in order to be able to abandon the cause of suffering, you have to understand first where the cause of suffering. So here we're talking about suffering, right? So I think Buddhist, the way, the explanation of suffering is very profound. You see, there are so many people, and especially animals, are suffering so badly in this dark world, right? So they need help, which is we have to try to prevent the cause of suffering, as I mentioned earlier. How you spend your money, how do you act, how do you protect the world, how to protect save the animals' life, all of this, right? These are the cause of suffering. Beings are suffer, because we have this mistaken ideas about what is true, what is not true, because of the lack of wisdom. We are dominated by ignorance, selfishness, and desire, right? So therefore, these are the cause of suffering. Now, I want to teach you one more, then Okay. So now the next stanza, the third, the suffering, right? To contemplate the suffering of conditioning, see how there is never an end of things to do, that suffering exists among many and among few. Okay. And that suffering exists among the rich and the poor. All of human life is exhausted in preparations. And in the midst of our preparing, we are swept away by death, but not even in the death, and there any end of preparation any end to preparation. Is once again we begin making ready for the next life. Those who are attached to this world of existence, which is a heap of suffering, are pitiful. Okay, this is the Shijidumar Samsana Shavilila Sambame, Maya Nyongla, Mamaya Dugla Nyoyandu, Norshukjan Dugla Tokchanduk, Matsitamchi Tabla Sat. So beautiful this is. Tapshi Pinchola Tamchin Cheers, Sheon Tabla Sambame. Se himi tab jinkola ju korwa dumur ju pombola shimbershin telele beautiful telele. Now here, this is why nothing gets finished by doing something. It is only when we put it aside, then it's finished, right? You see, from our own experience of this life, in terms of these worldly activities, things never seem to be done by doing. They only seem to be done when we stop doing, right? So once you are satisfied with whatever you have, then I'm done. Now I'm not going to do this anymore. When you stop doing things, then otherwise there's nothing to really finish if you continue, day after day, life after life. Actually, there's nothing you can finish by doing something. Only this is so important. I think whenever you want to stop doing it, then you're done, you're finished. That's what this stanza is all about. This stanza is about how to practice renunciation by contemplating the three sufferings, right? Which is actually, it's about the contemplate, the impermanent, right? And impermanence is about the true nature of everything. The true nature of everything is moment by moment, like changing, We have to recognize that. Or we don't recognize it. That's why we are suffering, because of ignorance. We have this strong attachment, right? So that we can keep this forever. But the nature of this thing is not forever. It's continually like changing. But we don't recognize that, then we are so attached, powerfully attached to this thing. And then something happened to this thing, then we are so sad. That's why impermanent understand the nature of everything, the impermanence, is so important. So therefore, practice of impermanence is great sport for Dharma practitioners. We have to remember and think about impermanence each and every day. Therefore, it's necessary, to deeply meditate on this sort of points again and again until we feel satisfied, until we feel that we really understand the practice of impermanence. So meditate in this way and um, and be grateful that you are able to strengthen your realization of the nature of samsara, that you are able to generate renunciation. So in order to develop renunciation mind, you have to think all of these things, the suffering of samsara, the suffering of how we destroy the world, how we killed the animals who are peacefully in the ocean or in the world. They are not harmful for us, but we just kill them. So we have to think all of this in order to develop renunciation mind. Remember, if you want to achieve enlightenment, either Mahayana or Hinayana, absolutely you need to renunciation mind. But then how do we develop renunciation mind? Think about the suffering of samsara. Think about impermanence. Think about, all of that. But I'm not going to talk about suffering and impermanence here in detail because right? If you don't know, you can learn the details of the nature of suffering of samsara and impermanence, all of this from great books like What of My Perfect Teacher or the mind training teachings like that, if you really need, if you feel need more, learn all these things. And then watch this sort of the movies and how they killed the animals and destroy the world. This is also important for our dharma practice. So in order to meditate and the realization, the renunciation, we have to really recognize how these people, the root cause of all of this is the selfishness. So what else? I can teach all these things like all day long, but you have to understand the essence of the teaching. What is today's teaching? The essence of the teaching, almost like 1.5 hours now. What is the essence of the teaching today? Then you have to put that into your mind and investigate, analyze it. Otherwise, there's no way to develop your realization, experience. And then meditate. So actually, this is the first step for dharma practice. First, you have to gain sort of develop some experience of renunciation. That's how you start to practice dharma. And the next time we're going to talk about bodhicitta. That's another one, the second step, right? But today, the renunciation, about this teaching is renunciation. And think about that, okay? And I'm going to stop here. Let you, maybe, for 5 minutes, few minutes, meditation. Today, I don't know. Today, maybe for the meditation, we should think about this. The teaching today, about the teaching, we should meditate on that, right? So I think if you are a Buddhist, visualize all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of you. That's it. No detail, just a very this visualization is very simple, right? Just Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all of them in front of you. And with that visualization, in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you should practice. Remember, we have this, taking your own body as an example. That's what we said, right? Put yourself in their place, right? So that's the meditation today. Taking your own body and mind as an example, which means imagine the suffering of all these beings, animals and human beings who are physically, mentally suffering. Because I think because of the negative people, the selfish people, make all these beings are suffering. Okay, think about painful life that they have. Put yourself in their body, in their mind. Think how that feels, and deeply understand how that feels, and then open your heart, open your mind. Okay, sit with that kind of feeling for a while. Okay, and then once you have a strong feeling of compassion, you should think that mentally, I'm so sad to see all this suffering. So what can I do? What can I do for them? How to prevent the cause of their suffering? Think about that. How much capacity do I have? Mentally, physically, emotionally. And then you should make not only just to think about that, then result of that feeling or that, good intention, motivation, right? You should make some commitment. Okay? For example, I will from today until I die, I will not spend my money that will cause suffering or that will destroy environment. You can do that. You're very smart. You know how to spend your money good way and support your life, your spiritual life, what I can say. Or you can once you have this feeling of compassion, then you can also make a commitment, sort of become a vegetarian. Otherwise, if you go to grocery stores and you buy a piece of meat, you definitely, not just the piece of meat, but behind that, there is a very heavy negative karma you accumulate. So therefore, it's important. And then if you want vegetarian, make a commitment also to learn more about the animal's life, the situation, right? Or whatever, do something, okay? Do something as a dharma practitioner, as a good people, not just thinking, right? Just do something, whether big or small, based on your capacity. Otherwise, we are really sort of like hypocrisy. You know, we say, oh, this is bad, this is suffering, oh, I'm so sorry. I will say some prayers. Yeah, but more than that, we can do. Do something, act something. I'm not saying necessarily do something big, but just do something, okay? So that's your meditation. This is, as I said, the first, when you meditate, you have to think, you have to analyze, you have to investigate, because that investigation, that wisdom gives you the ability to, the action, you know. So think about all that. Once you really you are compassionate, for sure you have a great compassion, right? So your compassion develops, then do something, means today make a commitment and then do it. That's your meditation, okay, for 5 minutes.